who can unite the right and who can get these conservatives together behind a single candidate. That is the question that we are going to explore today as we talk to our guests. An all-star lineup. We'll be talking to Utah Senator Mike Lee, sort of a rock star in the Tea Party movement. We're going to talk to Quin Hillyer. He's an American Spectator dude who was one of the very first people to start driving the Rick Santorum bandwagon, so he's having a pretty good week. We're going to do that. But we have a Sherpa with us today. We have a man of the right who understands the right, who understands what drives these voters, what drives these activists. That's Ford O'Connell. He is of Civic Forum PAC. He is a Republican strategist. He has advised candidates on all kinds of different levels, and you know these people. So Ford, let's start with the most basic possible question. What is conservative?
Conservative is somebody who supports free enterprise, limited government, and personal responsibility. And right now, the fight on the right is which one of the presidential candidates is most conservative. We know they're more conservative than Barack Obama, but which one is the most conservative, and which one can unite the right in terms of the presidential nomination?
Okay, but when we're talking about this, we're talking about people who are not named Willard to Mitt Romney who can do that. When you say unite the right, the struggle essentially this year has been which one of these people, and we've had a lot of contenders. We've had Michelle Bachmann, we've had Herman Cain, we've had Rick Perry, we've had Newt Gingrich twice, Rick Santorum twice now, that have all tried to do this thing and say, I'm the choice of the right. But Ron Paul in the mix too. But time and time again, divisions over things like government spending, divisions over earmarks, divisions over cap and trade. All of these other fine line distinctions have continued to divide conservatives. Is there time left with this Santorum boom, do you think, that there is a chance that the right will yet unite and deny Romney the nomination?
It depends on how Rick Santorum fares in Michigan.
Okay.
If he can win Michigan...
That's on February 28th, Internet, and that's an apportioned delegate state that takes place on the same day as Arizona holds its primary.
If he can win Michigan, given the boost of momentum he's gotten out of Missouri, Minnesota, and Colorado, hey, it could be a whole new ball game. But right now, Rick Santorum has a little bit of a campaign problem. He needs more money. Right. He needs better campaign staff. But right now, he has the momentum, and he's the one who's driving sort of the most fear into Mitt Romney's heart, because Mitt Romney right now is the odds-on favorite.
And we will talk about all of that with Quin Hillyer, champion of Rick Santorum, in a little bit. But let's talk about that. Let's go ahead and be nerds. Let's just nerd it up and talk about this question. So if you go back, let's say, to the birth of the modern conservative movement, essentially Barry Goldwater's candidacy in 1964, there were tremors there before, but Goldwater was the first to really unite the right, take the Republican nomination. It was a lot easier to say what conservative was in those days, and even for Ronald Reagan in 1980, because all you had to say was, I'm not a New Deal Democrat. I'm opposed to the status quo in the United States. You were an insurgent, a revolutionary. But the success of the conservative movement, as manifested by the fact that a lot of Democrats claim to be conservative, that 40% of all Americans say that they are conservative, the success of this movement has made it harder, yes?
That is true. It has, and it also has made it harder because of the need for political compromise in Congress. I think that's damaged a lot of the Republican brand, and it has conservatives questioning who really supports the ideas of limited government, free enterprise, and personal responsibility. And a lot of folks are trying to claim that mantle, but I think conservatives have sort of gotten sick and tired of wolves in sheep's clothing,
right,
and they want people to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. And that's been a hard battle within the Republican Party.
And when you heard Mitt Romney just now in the press conference he had yesterday, talking to reporters about being the conservative guy, he does his patriotic thing. He sings America the Beautiful at his campaign events. He talks about liberty. He talks about these things, but he doesn't seem convincing when he does it. And I point you back to the recent gaffe that he had where he said, we don't care about the very poor, we don't care about the very rich, we're just focused on the middle class. A lot of conservatives who were starting to acquiesce a bit to Governor Romney's advances said, I can't believe that guy said that, because the conservative idea, of course, what these folks out here believe is that there should be no class division, that the government should act irrespectively of your income or your views, that everybody should be treated the same. Why should Romney continue to try to talk this talk, or should he just sort of give up on that kind of stuff?
Romney needs a whole new language.
Okay.
He needs a positive yet passionate narrative. All Mitt Romney has told us is why the other candidate should not be the nominee and why he's the best candidate to be the steward of the economy.
Right.
Conservatives want more. Mitt Romney is going to need a big idea,
right.
Whether it's limited government or free enterprise, whether it's tax reform or the deficit. He's got to do something, and he's got to couch it in the right phrases, because right now this sort of negativity not only is rubbing conservatives wrong, but it's also rubbing independents away from Mitt Romney, and that is who you're going to need in the general election if you want to be the president of the United States.
Though he probably doesn't really want to rub anybody. We don't mean anything by that. So the question for Republicans now, with a lot of delegates still left, 90% of all delegates haven't been rubbed in any direction. With that, is there time yet for whether, because you have Newt Gingrich, Rick Santorum, and Ron Paul essentially dividing the not Romney vote, is there time for one of them to emerge and deny Governor Romney the nomination?
There is time, but the clock is running out. And unfortunately for Newt Gingrich and Rick Santorum, they didn't really lay the proper campaign foundation. They didn't get the right staff in place. They didn't raise the right amount of money. For a long time, they've been running glorified book tours. And essentially, I know I'm going to take a hit for that on the internet. But it's a fact in the sense that, they thought they were going to gain some momentum, and now that they did, it's where do we go from here? And the big thing for Rick Santorum is, can he win Michigan, and can Newt Gingrich win Arizona from Mitt Romney? And if they can, Super Tuesday is going to take on a whole new importance.
All right, Internet, I have just the man to rebut Ford's charge of glorified book touring. That's going to be Quin Hillyer. He's with the American Spectator. He's going to join us in studio in Washington when we come back, so stick around. This is Power Play, coming to you from the Plano, Texas of Washington, D.C., this conservative political action convention here at the Wardman Park Marriott, a enclave of bright red conservatism inside the District of Columbia this week as these folks gather, and we are here observing their comings and goings. Right now behind us on the main stage, Senator Ron Johnson from the great state of Wisconsin is laying it down, and we're going to talk later with one of his colleagues, Senator Mike Lee from the great state of Utah. Our friend Ford OConnell is with us still, a Sherpa through the wilderness of conservatism as we try to sort out what the right wants in a presidential nominee and a bunch of other stuff. We are having a very good time. The coffee is delicious, but Ford got himself in a little bit of trouble before we got out of the last segment when he said that Rick Santorum had been running a glorified book tour. And you know who will disagree? I can count on who will disagree with you, Ford, is my old friend, dear friend, and a former colleague from the Washington Examiner, Quin Hillyer, who is now, and I want to get it right, a senior fellow at the Center for Individual Freedom. Who could disagree with that? And he writes for the American Spectator. Quin, are you out there, my friend?
Yes, I am, Chris. Hi to you, and hi to my friend Ford as well.
Okay, that's good. Ford, is there anything, do you want to apologize in advance?
I do want to say that I meant from a campaign structural basis. I do love the passion that Senator Santorum's throwing out there, Quin.
Okay, Quin, I want to give you credit. The internet should know this about you. You have been out in front of both Santorum surges. You have been saying all along that Republicans should nominate Rick Santorum, that he's the guy. So first, let's just give you a moment gloat. We would encourage you now to gloat to the internet because you were right about this, that there was going to be a Santorum moment.
Well, I actually started saying that in July of 2010, 18 months ago, because Santorum actually because Santorum actually has a record of success in uphill battles, and he's extremely competitive, extremely smart, extremely hardworking, and he's principled and sincere, and that's a good five-way combination. So, I just looked at his record of winning uphill races, and I looked at the developing field, and I said, this guy should not be underestimated.
Now, I want to ask about this. Rick Santorum has taken, at several points as this sort of slow motion surge has been building, has taken a lot of incoming on earmarking. He's taken a lot of incoming on overall spending, on increasing the debt ceiling, and the basic accusation that comes from folks like Ron Paul and now from Mitt Romney is basically that Rick Santorum is a big government conservative in the Bush mold. How do you respond to that?
I say that is utterly absurd. You look at his overall record from 16 years, and 88, a record of 88 from the American Conservative Union. You go down the list of ratings from outside conservative groups. He's high on every one of them. I was there in the 90s when he was up there on the House floor putting up what he called the spendometer. What you've got to look at is overall spending that he has attacked. And he hasn't been great on some of the little things like earmarks, but he's been better than everybody on entitlements. I mean, this guy has been pushing serious entitlement reform that would save hundreds of billions of dollars. He's been doing that since he first got to Congress in 1990. And if he could achieve that, then these little $10 million earmarks don't mean anything compared to the hundreds of billions of dollars that he would save. And he was the first one to come out, the very first one, immediately to embrace Paul Ryan's very important entitlement reform. So, I just think
Ford,
it's absurd.
what say you?
My question to you, Quinn, is very simply this. How are you going to overcome the Romney sort of Death Star Oppo research? Remember, I'm neutral here. I do agree with you. Rick Santorum has a very strong record, and he's got some great points to make. But retail politicking is not going to cut it on Super Tuesday. And if you lose Michigan, it's going to be real hard to rebound.
Well, here's how. First of all, for Mitt Romney, of all people, to try to attack Rick Santorum from the right, that's, I wish I could think of a metaphor to show how absurd that is. I mean, Mitt Romney is so far to the left of Rick Santorum across the board that it's just, again, it's ludicrous. This is a guy, Mitt Romney, who supported the bailout, supported TARP, right on down the list. He was a big government, almost
but
liberal.
Quinn,
yeah.
Quinn, let me jump in. The problem, is that Newt Gingrich, Rick Perry was more conservative. Herman Cain was more conservative. Many people, though there is some disagreement, would say that Newt Gingrich is more conservative than Mitt Romney. There have been a lot of people who can credibly claim that they're more conservative than Mitt Romney. But all Romney's had to do to this point is essentially point out how they are less conservative than each other, or that they have committed conservative apostasies. And you've had the right sort of rip each other's eyeballs out on this. How does Santorum survive that as he goes into this not Romney primary, next round of the not Romney primary with Gingrich?
Well, first of all, because there are a whole bunch of people for a whole long time on the right who know that Newt Gingrich is a problem. And so it didn't take Romney long to get conservatives attacking Gingrich. You're not going to have many conservatives agreeing with an all-out attack on Rick Santorum because they know in their hearts that he's one of them. And Rick Perry and Herman Cain, they had other problems. It wasn't that they weren't conservative enough. It wasn't that attacks from the right hit them. It was that Perry just couldn't even talk in a debate very well. And Herman Cain, of course, wasn't really qualified and had lots of other problems, even though I think Herman Cain is a great guy. It's a totally different...
Let's give Ford a word. Let's give Ford a word.
Yeah.
Quinn, I agree with you. I do like Rick's passion, and I do think he has a very strong record on limited government, but the question still remains. You've got to get Gingrich out of the field, and you can't lose momentum because right now the Santorum campaign just does not have the resources of the Romney Death Star. And frankly, you've got to get that momentum, and you've got a very narrow window. Now, you took advantage of the opening on Tuesday, but you can't take the foot off the gas, and you can't talk about who's more conservative. You got to put up wins and losses, not just delegates, because that's all the voters around the country realize. You've got to harness that momentum, and I just don't know how Rick Santorum's going to do it if he doesn't fare well in Michigan.
What do you say, Quinn, about Michigan?
Well, that's what people have been saying for 18 months about Rick Santorum, is he doesn't have the resources. He can't get an organization together. He can't battle the Death Star. Looks to me like with spending 1/30th of the money of Mitt Romney, he's already won 4 states to Romney's 3. This is a guy who knows how to live off the land. And of course, with his big success now, money is going to start coming his way. So it's not going to be as great a disparity as he's already faced and overcome. That's my answer.
All right, last word from Ford.
Quin, my friend, I wish you the best, and I agree with you. He's very good at living off the land, but that's very hard to do on Super Tuesday, and I wish you and Rick Santorum the best.
Quin,
Well,
we have
thanks.
to go because we're going to talk to Senator Mike Lee when we come back, but we appreciate you making time for us. And by the way, congratulations on calling this shot really before anybody else did and sticking with it. A lot of credit to you for that, my friend.
Thank you, Chris, and it's great to talk to both you and Ford.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about the future of conservatism and this presidential election and all kinds of good stuff, so stick around.